What happens if you break both legs at once? This happened to me. I was training for a triathlon and was hit by a car driven by an elderly blind driver who went out to get her cat some food. She hit me head-on as if I were not even there. I went through her windshield twice, once on the way in, and then back out when she hit the brakes. I flew 75 feet and hit the ground feet first. My left leg collapsed like telescope, compound fracture in 3 places, shattered at the ankle. The good news was that it took the majority of the strain, so my right leg only sprained badly. On the other hand, I suffered a slight fracture in my arm as I reached out to stop my rapid fall. Luckily my elbow folded. I took a great deal of road rash. It's been almost 20 years and I still pick a piece of tar out of my arm from time to time when my body forces it to the surface. When I stopped moving, I first felt anger because I could see my bike in the distance, destroyed, and realized I would not be able to ride it home. Then I was pissed because on top of everything else, I had landed in a puddle. Only when I lifted my hand I saw that it wasn't water, it was blood. And then I saw the pain, literally saw it, coming at me like a wall of white light, and then I realized someone was screaming and that it was me. And then the woman who hit me drove off. People came running from their homes because of the screaming. By this time I was a sobbing mess. You know things are bad when the people running to help you stop short and cover their eyes or the eyes of their children. I could see the look on their faces. No one moved to help. There was nothing the average person could do. They stopped short, about 10 feet away, and looked at me blankly and said nothing. A car stopped and a woman jumped out. It turned out she was a doctor on her way home from work. She put her finger on my neck and had me follow her other finger with my eyes. She laid me back on the ground. "You have some bad fractures," she said, "but your spine is intact and you haven't suffered serious neurological damage." I hear the ambulance, so I am going to go. I can't take the liability. And she got in her car and drove off. The EMTs acted fast. They cut off all my clothes and injected me with morphine. The morphine did nothing. I was screaming with pain. They were on the radio with the hospital, which authorized Demerol. I fell into a painless dream world where I saw the fire engines from upside down. I suddenly felt so cold. I asked for a sweater. When they realized I was going into shock, they went crazy, suddenly covering me and rubbing my arms and body to keep me warm. They ran me into the ambulance and off I went to the hospital. It took about 2 years to learn to walk correctly again. I never ran or biked competitively again. My legs are held together with rods and plates and screws. I had to undergo 3 surgeries. I lost 6 months of work. I went from being a toned athlete to a fat blob of useless flesh. I still walk with a limp and I can always tell when it's going to rain. My leg sets off metal detectors at airports, which guarantees I will be felt up and down by another man, over and over for the umpteenth humiliating time. The worst thing about it is that it could happen again. The thought of that makes me shudder with fear. The woman who hit me was 74, her eyesight had been deteriorating for some time and she was legally blind, but she refused to give up her license. In the US it is very difficult to take the driving licenses of blind people, and they are in as many accidents as 16-year-old drivers. Only the younger drivers are going to improve. Although she drove off, she returned after the police arrived. She was arrested and charged with a felony. The trial took place 2 years later. I was at the trial, which was simply a bench trial with the judge. She blamed me for the incident. She was found guilty of all the charges, and there were something like 13 charges, such as reckless endangerment, and so on. The results were loss of license for life, felony conviction, can't hold office, can't own a gun, can't get a passport, can't travel outside the state, can't work at certain jobs, can't vote, can't sit on a jury, and so on. Really nothing that would affect an old woman's life. My lawyer told me to expect nothing. They don't convict old people of anything very much, so he was surprised when she got convicted. It knocked the legs out of the insurance company, who were fighting the payoff. As it was, it took 3 years to get them to pay, but only when we tried to take her house, she sued the insurance company and they finally paid off. They did everything possible to not pay. I bought a house with the money. I still have the house.